Whoever you are, whatever your beliefs, know that you are welcome here. Good morning. I'm Chandra, and I'm going to be your worship leader for today. And as we celebrate Earth Week or Earth Day, and as we become whole, we sometimes need to include past or forgotten memories. To this end, I will share a land acknowledgement written by Alan Ellis, one of our Unitarian Universalist members, as a way of including the past. The mountains we know had different names. The rivers we paddle flowed in different ways. The trails we walk have been walked for centuries. As we come together to learn and share today, I would like to acknowledge the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of many Indigenous peoples, including the Northern Paiute, Wasco, Warm Springs, Klamath, Modoc, Yushkin, and Shoshone. It is important to acknowledge these Indigenous peoples that inhabited these lands that they considered sacred and living for thousands of years before our colonizers set foot on the land, and in many situations unfairly took these lands away from their original owners and caretakers. It is important to me to acknowledge the land I am on while I learn to be more inclusive, as my ancestors may well have been white colonizers and enslavers in the United States.
Tis the gift to be simple, tis the gift to be free, tis the gift to come down where you ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, we'll be in the valley of love and delight. Turn to simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right. 'Tis the gift to be gentle, 'tis the gift to be fair, 'tis the gift to wake and breathe the morning air, and every day to walk in the path we choose. 'Tis the gift that we pray we may ne'er come to lose. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. 'Tis the gift to be simple, 'tis the gift to be free, till by turning we come round right. 'Tis the gift to be loved, 'tis the gift, 'tis the gift, 'tis the gift that goes high when the closet prays. It blesses when it holds, gratitude it's meant to give and it is to receive. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right.
Hello, I'm Louis McFarland, and for the reading today I've chosen For the Web of Life by Paul Sprecker. We light this chalice for the web of life which sustains us, for the sacred circle of life in which we have our being, for the earth, the sky, and below, and for our Mother Earth, and for the mystery. Have a good Earth Day.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the rain, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, waves set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Good morning, I'm Chayla Sloper, your Congregational Life Facilitator, and I have today's announcements. First, warm welcome to everyone joining the service today, and especially if you're visiting with us for maybe the first or second time, and you'd like to let us know that you're visiting. It's fun sometimes to hear where you're visiting from. You can put that in the chat later during Joys and Sorrows. And then we also invite you to fill out a virtual visitor information form. If you'd like to sign up for our weekly communications, that's the best way to do it. Our theme this month is becoming, and we're becoming a little better at doing this every week. It's nice to see some improvement. So this week we have a few things going on, and then we have the big exciting auction coming this weekend. So firstly, tomorrow is a big social justice day at UUFCO. At 1 o'clock, there'll be a conversation about the future of our involvement with the Immigration Solidarity Network. At 5 p.m., the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Group invites you to a courageous culture conversation. The topic is unity. That's at 5 p.m., also on Zoom. And then at 7 p.m., there'll be a conversation, a discussion for those who have watched the movie Kiss the Ground, or if you'd like to participate in the discussion, you'd be able to join that as well. So that's tomorrow night at 7 p.m. So all those are on Zoom. And then this Wednesday, we have Open Sanctuary, which means that you can come down to the building anytime between 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. Please do wear a mask. We'll be observing social distancing, and there will be contact tracing, regardless of your vaccination status. So anyway, that is Wednesday, the 21st, so between 1 and 6. Please keep in mind that the roundabout at Mount Washington is still closed. It's getting repair, so you can access the church either from the north or south or on Skyline Ranch Road. So you might have to meander through Northwest Crossing, but you can get there, but just give a little extra time for yourself. Okay, so this week is auction week. So Friday is going to be the kickoff at 7 p.m. and everybody's invited to attend. Paul Bennett is going to be the master of ceremonies, and he's also always just a lively MC. But today we have a very special video. I want to say that the Beret Bar family is remarkably creative, and they've all made contributions to the auction. Last week we showed an origami book that Robin had done, and today Tessa and Reed have something to share, just to let you know what they've contributed to the auction. So we're going to watch that.
Hi, I'm Tessa.
And I'm Reed.
And we made some art for the art auction. We heard it was book themed and we're big readers in our family, so we decided to make some stuff. He has some really cool bookmarks here.
Off in the middle of a page, which I always do, you can hold your place with the arrows.
yeah, they have little tassels on them. And I made a painting inspired by Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. It's actually mixed media. It has a lot of random elements, but hope you guys enjoy.
Great. So thanks so much, Tessa, Reed, and Robin, for your contributions to the auction. So here's the thing. It's really a good idea if you register before Friday, and then you can also preview the items that have been submitted for the auction. And so Lior is going to walk us through how to get to the auction website. And so essentially, if you want to go to our uufco.org website, our homepage, click on the book for the auction. That will open you up to another page that has some information about the dates and the bidding and all of that. Again, the kickoff is Friday. And then if you click on the book again, that will open up the Octria website that we're using for the auction. And it's so easy to register. Click on the, there it says register. It's that easy. And then be sure to check your email after you register, because they will send you an email to confirm your email address. So it's really simple to do. So I look forward to seeing you Friday night at 7 p.m. And then as soon as the kickoff is over, bidding can begin. So especially for things that have limited number of participants, you're going to want to get there as soon as you can. So anyway, I look forward to the auction, and this is a beautiful day and a beautiful week. And so with that, bright spring blessings on your day.
Good morning. I'm Amy Brock, Director of Religious Exploration for Children and Youth. Our story today gives us the opportunity to explore how our world is interconnected by learning about a scientist named Rachel Carson. Rachel was a marine biologist and she was a writer. She loved the creatures of the ocean and how they all work together to help each other and to help the world outside of the ocean too. She wrote books about tide pools and the dark, mysterious depths of the ocean floor. She loved every creature in the ocean, even the tiniest creatures that you couldn't even see unless you looked at them with a microscope. Rachel knew that life was everywhere, and life was diverse, and life was a celebration. And people fell in love with Rachel's books about the ocean, not just because they had information about the ocean, because when she wrote them, she shared her love and gratitude for the ocean's creatures with her words. When Rachel wasn't writing books, she wrote about a belief in the United States that humans were the top of the food chain. This meant that other life on Earth existed to serve humans. It meant that humans were the most important creatures to exist in the world. In fact, it meant that they were more important than all of the other beings and creatures that live here. When in reality, we humans are just one part of nature. The earth was not created for us, and we're just here to care for it and enjoy it like all the other beings who live here. And Rachel wanted people to know that too. One of Rachel's most famous books was called Silent Spring. In this book, she wrote about how efforts to kill the pesky bugs that interrupt our summer picnics were harming birds and probably other animals and humans too. People didn't believe her at first, even though she made sure that the information that she shared was absolutely true. But Rachel kept talking about it, and eventually, many people started to understand that the earth doesn't belong to humans. We're just one part of this great big earth. To know that we are a part of something as wonderful as the earth and its web of beings is such a beautiful knowing. I wonder if you ever stop to notice the nature that you're living with and connecting with as you go about your day. Maybe you thank a tree for giving you shade, or you pause to watch a spider as it carefully and intricately weaves a web. Or maybe you stop to think about where your food came from before you have a snack. Each of these things matter in our web of a world. Our earth cares for us, and it's a joy to find ways that we can help care for it too. And so ends our time together today.
Please join me now as we share our children's covenant. In this place, I am kind. In this place, I am loving. In this place, I am a friend to the earth and all animals and people. In this place, I am loved. And now I invite you to share your joys and your sorrows with the fellowship on the chat.
So this morning, as you share your joys and sorrows, I chose to play a piece that was written by Max Richter. And this piece has two names, actually. If you look on YouTube, you will find it under the name On the Nature of Daylight. And however, he did transcribe this for piano under the name Written on the Sky. And I thought, I've always been struck by the beauty of this piece and the wonder of nature and the world that we live in.
On Christmas Eve, 1968, astronaut Bill Anders snapped a photo of the Earth as Apollo 8 orbited the moon. Those three guys were surprised to see from their eyes a planet looked like an Earthrise, a blue orb hovering over the moon's gray horizon with deep oceans and silver skies. It was our world's first glance at itself, a first chance to see a shared reality, a declared stance, and a commonality, a glimpse into our planet's mirror. And as threats drew nearer, our own urgency became clearer as we realized that we hold nothing dearer than this floating body we all call home. We've known that we're caught in the throes of climactic changes some say will just go away, while some simply pray to survive another day. For it is the obscure, the oppressed, the poor who, when the disaster is declared done, still suffer more than anyone. Climate change is the single greatest challenge of our time. Of this, you're certainly aware. It's saddening, but I cannot spare you from knowing an inconvenient fact, because it's getting the facts straight that gets us to act and not to wait. So I tell you this not to scare you, but to prepare you, to dare you to dream a different reality where, despite disparities, we all care to protect this world, this riddled blue marvel, this little true marvel, to master the verve and the nerve to see how we can serve our planet. You don't need to be a politician to make it your mission to conserve, to protect, to preserve that one and only home that is ours. To use your unique power to give next generations the planet they deserve. We are demonstrating, creating, advocating. We heed this inconvenient truth because we need to be anything but lenient with the future of our youth. And while this is a training in sustaining the future of our planet, there is no rehearsal. The time is now, because the reversal of harm and protection of a future so universal should be anything but controversial. So, Earth, pale blue dots, we will fail you not. Just as we chose to go to the moon, we know it's never too soon to choose hope. We choose to do more than cope with climate change. We choose to end it. We refuse to lose. We do this and more, not because it's very easy or nice, but because it is necessary. Because with every dawn, we carry the weight of the fates of this celestial body orbiting a star. And as heavy as that weight sounded, it doesn't hold us down, but it keeps us grounded, steady, ready, because an environmental movement of this size is simply another form of an Earthrise. To see it, close your eyes, visualize that all of us in this room and outside of these walls or in these halls, all of us change makers, or in a spacecraft floating like a silver raft in space, and we see the face of a planet anew. We relish the view, we witness its round green and brilliant blue, which inspires us to ask deeply, wholly, what can we do? Open your eyes, know the future of this wise planet is right in sight, right in all of us. Trust this earth uprising, all of us bring light to exciting solutions never tried before, for it is our hope that implores us at our uncompromising core to keep rising up for an earth more than worth fighting for.
That was riveting. But good morning. I'm Martha Lessenhaupt, and I'm representing the environmental justice team of this congregation in the first part of our message for Earth Day Sunday. Thank you for being here on Zoom this gorgeous day. I hope that you get outside later. After Amanda Gorman's impassioned poem, Earth Rising, I can only follow her powerful words with those of another wise and eloquent writer, Robin Wall Kimmerer. Many of you are familiar with her book, Braiding Sweetgrass. I happen to have a braid of sweetgrass, a wonderful gift from a friend named Sweet Medicine. Dr. Kimmerer is a scientist, a professor, and an enrolled member of the citizen band Potawatomi. She lives on an old farm in upstate New York, tending gardens both cultivated and wild. I will read excerpts from the first part of an article she wrote in 2013 for Center for Humans and Nature called Returning the Gifts. We are showered every day with the gifts of the earth, gifts we have neither earned nor paid for. Air to breathe, nurturing rain, black soil, berries and honeybees, the tree that became this page, a bag of rice, and the exuberance of a field of goldenrod and asters at full bloom. Though the earth provides us with all that we need, we have created a consumption-driven economy that asks, what more can we take from this earth? And almost never, what does the earth ask of us in return? We are not passive recipients of her gifts, but active participants in her well-being. For much of humans' time on the planet before the Great Delusion, we lived in cultures that understood the covenant of reciprocity, that for the earth to stay in balance, for the gifts to continue to flow, we must give back in equal measure for what we take. When we ask ourselves, what is our responsibility to the earth? We are also asking, what is our gift? As human people, most recently evolved here, we lack the gifts of our companion species of nitrogen fixation, pollination, 3,000-mile migrations under magnetic guidance. We can't even photosynthesize, but we carry gifts of our own, which the earth urgently needs. Among the most potent of these is gratitude. Gratitude may seem like weak tea, given the desperate challenges that lie before us, but it is powerful medicine, much more than a simple thank you. Giving thanks implies recognition not only of the gift, but of the giver. When I eat an apple, my gratitude is directed to that wide-armed tree whose tart offspring are now in my mouth, whose life has become my own. Gratitude is founded on the deep knowing that our very existence relies on the gifts of beings who can, in fact, photosynthesize. Gratitude propels the recognition of the personhood of all beings and challenges the fallacy of human exceptionalism, the idea that we are somehow better, more deserving of the wealth and services of the earth than other species. The evolutionary advantage for cultures of gratitude is compelling. This human emotion has adaptive value because it engenders practical outcomes for sustainability. The practice of gratitude can, in a very real way, lead to the practice of self-restraint, of taking only what we need. Acknowledging the gifts that surround us creates a sense of satisfaction, a feeling of enoughness, which is an antidote to the societal messages that drill into our spirits telling us we must have more. Practicing contentment is a radical act in a consumption-driven society. We human people have protocols for gratitude. We apply them formally to one another. We say thank you. We understand that receiving a gift incurs a responsibility to give a gift in return. The next step in our cultural evolution, if we are to persist as a species on this beautiful planet, is to expand our protocols for gratitude to the living earth. Gratitude is most powerful as a response to the earth because it provides an opening to reciprocity, to the act of giving back. Now, Dr. Kimmerer then goes on to share additional ways that we can return Earth's gifts. It's a wonderful article, and you can see the link to it in the email that is a post-service wrap-up providing bonus content. Next, I'd like to share a story of a way that I may have unintentionally given back to my fellow critters on this earth. Last June, I stopped by the Sisters Community Garden where I have a raised bed for growing vegetables to check on things before going on a road trip. A high fence surrounds the garden, so I unlatched the gate and walked inside to my plot. Around its perimeter is a tall mesh fencing, and a screen on the bottom prevents rodents that enjoy carrots and other root vegetables from invading the bed that way. To my shock and dismay, I saw that the sugar peas and snap peas that had grown to 2 feet were chomped off to the ground, that all my leafy greens that had reached 6 inches tall were cropped back to 1 inch above ground, that my sturdy broccoli and cauliflower plants that had started forming heads were now just bare stalks. Somehow, the fence door had caved in and a horde of woodchucks, sage rats, or rabbits had ravaged my vegetable bed and munched down a very hearty meal. I felt sick at heart. All that time and energy spent digging in compost, planting seeds, watering, the fruits of my labors now gone. I repaired the gate, but then, disheartened, departed on the trip before I could replant seeds or replace the broccoli. When I returned to Sisters 2 weeks later, I dreaded going back to the raised bed to start over. But when I finally did, what to my wondering eyes should appear but tall pea vines and new healthy growth on my spinach and lettuces. Even a few stalks of broccoli were sending out new shoots. I was astonished and delighted too. I marveled at the resilience built into the plants. I felt such joy that sunshine, genetics, photosynthesis allowed my veggies to renew themselves. Weeks later, I was able to harvest plenty of vegetables for ourselves and friends, in addition to those veggies I had provided for our neighboring wild creatures earlier in the summer. That sharing of the bounty is a way to give back to the earth. After all, rodents and rabbits are a part of our ecosystem. Don't you think Peter Rabbit left Mr. Gregor with plenty for him to eat? Returning to Dr. Kimmer and her ardent prose, she writes that reciprocity is rooted in the understanding that we are not alone, that the earth is populated by non-human persons, wise and inventive beings deserving of our respect. We tolerate governance that grants legal personhood and free speech to corporations, but denies that respect to voiceless salamanders and sugar maples. The earth asks that we be their voice. She finishes her article with these words: gratitude is our first, but not our only gift. We are storytellers, music makers, devisers of ingenious machines, healers, scientists, and lovers of an earth who asks that we give our own unique gifts on behalf of life. Let us live in a way that Earth will be grateful for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. My name is Anastasia Compton, and at this point, to Martha's wonderful story about gardening and to the powerful words of Robin Wall Kimmerer and Amanda Gorman, I'd like to include a quote from the farmer and poet Wendell Berry. To speak of the pleasure of eating is to go beyond categories of politics, aesthetics, and ethics of food. Eating with the fullest pleasure that does not depend on ignorance, is perhaps the profoundest enactment of our connection with the world. In this pleasure, we experience and celebrate our dependence and our gratitude, for we are living from mystery, from creatures we did not make, and powers we cannot comprehend. After volunteering at a charity 5K a couple decades ago, I and several others who worked the race were taken out to lunch at San Francisco's famous Greens restaurant. Greens is associated with the San Francisco Zen Center and their Green Gulch farm in the hills of Marin County. It specializes in vegetarian cuisine. It holds to a Buddhist sense of ethics in growing, sourcing, and preparing their food. And I found myself going beyond just the enjoyment of a good meal. I found myself sinking into this rather new sensation at the time of actually being relaxed while choosing and appreciating my food. I hadn't felt the need to double check or overthink anything about it. It was in line with my vegetarian diet at the time. The menu was transparent about ingredients. It was healthy, natural food. It was local. It was prepared with a commitment to treating the land and the workers well. After an active morning, I wasn't giving a thought to calories. And with someone picking up the check, I didn't even have to worry that it was too much of a splurge for my budget at the time. I hadn't realized until that moment how much low-grade stress I typically carried around the subject of food. I hadn't realized that meals had become a source of decision fatigue. Now, it's a good thing, of course, to be conscious about what we're eating. And food justice is certainly central to an equitable and sustainable society. It's an issue that can be approached from many angles. On Earth Day, this can include focusing on the impact our choices have on the environment. The organization Project Drawdown ranks climate solutions in order of impact. And 2 of the top 5 are food related. The importance of cutting down on food waste and of eating a plant-rich diet. Other food-related solutions are found throughout the top 100, from regenerative agriculture to support for smallhold farms. Tomorrow, as Chela mentioned, the environmental team is hosting a discussion of the movie Kiss the Ground on regenerative agriculture. And next Sunday, the Greater Community Collection will be for Central Oregon locavore. And we'll hear about their work to support local agriculture and food systems. Part of the gratitude to the earth for the food that it provides us is making sure that our neighbors in our community and around the world have enough. Locally, our fellowship works towards this end by preparing meals for the Bethlehem Inn, supporting homeless outreach. The newest social justice program, Nourish, intersects with both environmental and food insecurity issues by working to gather donations of fresh produce and perishables, especially encouraging those grown in home or community gardens. The Nourish team also writes in their blog post this month on the UUFCL website about the historic support the American Rescue Plan will give to Indigenous farmers and farmers of color. And this is an important step in addressing the loss of land and foodways that have been the results of racism and colonialism. Internationally, Project Drawdown points out the importance of making resources available to women farmers and smallholders and returning sovereignty to Indigenous communities as being central to addressing the climate crisis. In all of these ways, the food we choose and the food that we share can be a powerful statement of our faith and our priorities. But one thing I realized that day in the restaurant is that I had somehow been convinced that many of these considerations necessarily came between me and the food. I let it break the reciprocity between my capacity for pleasure and the pleasures that food has to offer. We're so often told that our pleasures in food need to be mindless rather than mindful, and that any thought we put into our food and its sources qualifies as work, or worse, empty virtue signaling. As Wendell Berry warns, we're told that any real pleasure in food must depend on ignorance. What we can strive for instead is a mindset in which all of the considerations we put into our meals are part of the pleasure, are, as Berry says, the profoundest enactment of our connection with the world. You know, we might get out for a hike or a swim in the river a few times a week, but when we eat, we interact with nature several times a day. Now, I'm not constantly being treated to healthy, delicious meals being prepared with deliberation and consciousness, and probably neither are you. Too often, we're surrounded by a food system that is designed to obfuscate the human, animal, and environmental costs, to rename the ingredients, to lure us into a relationship with the packaging rather than the producers. And this is within a larger system that can strive to ensure that we're too busy and have too many other pressures on our wallet to ever approach perfection. In this context, foregoing perfection in order to make the smallest step towards setting our priorities for what we eat, what we serve, what we donate, becomes an act of resistance. And as we shop for and prepare those plates week in and week out, it becomes an opportunity for the practice of mindfulness. Learning what is produced locally and seasonally and how it is grown is the work of strengthening community. But the most subversive of all might be, as Barry suggests, taking pleasure in our food, in growing it, in eating it, in sharing it. The kind of pleasure that draws us into the reciprocity that Robin Wall Kimmerer describes, and that is reflected in this poem, which is also a table grace by the late Reverend Nancy Schaefer, entitled Field at Table. When I begin to bless this food and close my eyes, I lose myself first just in green. How do leaves grow themselves this green? And how do they grow at all to be so large? And how do they make themselves from soil, which is in it of itself brown? And sunlight helps and water, but how is the end of this green? How can I bless this food? It blesses me. Thank you, I say, for this bowl, which is also field, this green, which is meal before I eat. Thank you, I say, that this green becomes me. Thank you for mysteries, this life. And at this point, I'm going to open the chat. We're going to open the chat again, and I will invite you to share moments of reciprocity with the earth. Things that you give, things that you're grateful for, whether it's being outdoors, activities, gardening, activism, anything that you feel brings you, as we go into this Earth Week, into greater reciprocity with the earth. Thank you, everyone, for sharing that. I saw a lot about birds, a lot of people starting gardens. That's such a wonderful time of the year for it. And just appreciation for the beautiful natural setting that we live in here. Please join us for our closing song, The Earth is Our Mother.
With
Thank you, everybody. And I'm just like continue to be blown away by all the beautiful messages that roll in the chat, and you're helping us celebrate this Earth Week and giving me ideas for new ways to appreciate our Mother Earth. And so thank you for joining us this Sunday. And in our breakout rooms after the service, we would just like to give you an opportunity to continue that conversation that we've had in the chat and go a little deeper into how you share reciprocity with the earth, gratitude for gifts received, how you are able to give back. So if you stay after the service, you will be able to join one of their breakout rooms, which is our virtual coffee hour. There will also be a slide towards the end of the service that if you would like to support the work of this congregation, there will have instructions to how to make an offering after today's service. So thank you all very much. Happy Earth Week.
Go ahead, Chandra.
Oh, let us close today's service with the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And as we close, I would like to share with you some further words by Robin Wall Zimmer. We are all bound by a covenant of reciprocity. Plant breath for animal breath, winter and summer, predator and prey, grass and fire, night and day, living and dying. Our elders say that ceremony is the way we can remember to remember. In the dance of the giveaway, remember that the earth is a gift we must pass on just as it came to us. When we forget, the dances we'll need will be for our mourning, for the passing of polar bears, the silence of crones, for the death of rivers, and the memory of snow. And as you go today, and you go in peace, remember our seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Go in peace. Thank you for being with us.